I'm very thankful to Asia Pacific Water Forum and all the colleagues who actively participate in this very interesting forum which we have in the Asia Pacific. There has been meetings which led to what we had yesterday as the inter-regional session. The inter-regional session basically means that we first have the European session about water and cities, followed by the Arab, and followed by the Asia Pacific. So I have a few things to report from the session, and I will be within 6 minutes so I can win my gold watch from Ravi. Okay, so I don't have time to read each one of those observations. I will only highlight some of the key points. So I don't need to say urbanization is a big issue in the Asia Pacific. We all know it. We have the region which has some of the most important economic realities of the world, but also we have some of the most, you can say, lagging behind nations as well. And Yasmin showed the analysis about the water security in those countries. But by the urban context, a very simple message is more than 150,000 persons per day migrating over next 2 decades from rural to urban areas. So that's a very, very big reality. So we focused around solutions because this particular forum is about solutions, what can be implemented. We requested a number of colleagues linked with the Asia Pacific Water Forum to contribute case studies. We have a publication which is outside, and thank you to the Asia Pacific Water Forum to facilitate its funding along with others. So you can read those success stories there. The challenges are many, many. And one thing I can tell you that Asia Pacific region is no different than the other two regions. Very simple message. Groundwater is an issue, surface water is an issue, disasters is an issue, the issue of pollution and linking with agriculture, linking with peri-urban. So we have all of those challenges. And wherever I go, it has to be at the highest level. Okay. And we recognize that it's time to think now about the post-2015. That was a key part of the deliberations in this. And in that regard, the use of eco-biotechnologies, the solutions which are low-energy solutions, which can take us from very low rate of sanitation to the levels which are desirable, and especially what do we do with sludge. That was a key issue for this particular session. So this was some of the highlights. We also linked with the World Water Development Report, which clearly shows that from the rural population in Asia in 2030, linking back with the SDGs to the urban population will be much, much bigger. So we need to have those solutions implemented now. And it's not only water. This was a key message that it's not only water, but it's electricity, it is also the sanitation, it's also the solid fuel. So we need to look into the whole equation together. And in that regard, many countries are really lagging behind while they are better on one indicator, so what was presented before. But look into the use of solid fuel. It's a big issue. So in that regard, for example, Indonesia, if you look, or India, so there are interesting trends there. So I don't have time to go into detail. We looked into the urban cycle. And a key message here is how can we close those cycles with reuse, recycle, but very importantly, reducing the use of water and go into demand management. We had 9 countries represented there. So you can imagine some of the most innovative like Singapore to some of the countries struggling. For example, we had a case study from Pakistan where half of a mega city has become hepatitis C city, so just because of water availability. So we have huge challenges in the Asia Pacific region. So water service from the point of view of people and industry, public health, and environmental sustainability, those remain the key challenges, and they need to be reflected into our plans. And in that regard, arsenic is not a small issue. Groundwater management, arsenic management, and linking with cancer and all of the public health issues were the key for our deliberations. And in that regard, we noted that bottled water is becoming a much bigger reality, but we need to provide water as a cheap resource. Okay, now urban water management solutions. We have documented quite a lot, especially not only this water energy nexus, water, energy, and food. More than 40% of the food production is linked with the peri-urban areas. And how then we can make that food more safe for the people, also linking integrated storm management and green buildings, and looking into water-sensitive urban design, also going back to the resilient infrastructure. How can we have better ecosystem services? So those are some of the solutions documented. There are a number of case studies documented here from China, from Japan, from Malaysia, where low-cost solutions have been found. And one of the simple conclusions from our colleague from Singapore was that Singapore does not look at water as just water, but water as part of the whole system. And that's where from water supply all the way to water utilities. Okay, lastly, some key messages that we have all these issues I highlighted: water scarcity, lack of sanitation, pollution, flooding, and the issue is not really a technical issue. The issue is a social issue. The issue is related to the political and the economic reality. And we have to address a key challenge, which is about water theft and water services. And how can we provide to the urban poor? And how can we use biotechnologies which are perhaps cheaper? And how to bring the attention of the investment banks and other public-private partnerships. Lastly, these are some of the recommendations on which we are finalizing, updating this report as well. The first one is we need to develop a database of the solutions. Eco-biotechnologies is perhaps one of the ways forward. And the database of solutions is about technical, economic, financial, and social. How people have been interacting with those systems and where we can upscale them, and how can we have a socially inclusive system linked with political support and stakeholder empowerment. And very importantly, it was highlighted, we have political will and perhaps also the legal system, but the legal system is not working. So the key challenge is how to have the proper kind of enforcement mechanisms and have a clear identification of responsibilities between stakeholders and regulators. Lastly, that we need to have financial commitment to water infrastructure, not only to build water infrastructure, but all the way to the management. And in many countries, the water infrastructure to the population ratio is appalling. Perhaps we don't have the proper kind of investment. So that's where I will leave, and thank you again. So if I won the gold watch, I wait outside.
Thank you, Shahbaz.